Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey guys, brand new podcast.
Hey, wait a minute. It's my podcast.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Enjoy. So I wanted you guys to come on because you made a career choice after having kids, after having a different career, right? And went back to school. Coincidentally, you made the same career choice. Is that right?
And came from the same career choices.
Wait, what was your career? What were
We
you?
were both art directors.
Creative.
Yeah.
In the creative world.
You're kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
I mean, different facets of it.
talk about parallel.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So are we doing this?
Yeah, it's already started a long time ago. See how you don't even know what's happening.
Good.
That's the whole point, is that you don't know what's happening. We're just having a conversation. There's just
Right.
a banana
I
in
love
front of
it.
you.
There's
There's
just
just a big black banana. So you were both in art directors? What is that?
Okay.
But different.
Yeah.
Different facets of the job.
So I was in entertainment. I was primarily an art director for TV shows.
And what does that mean?
Which I loved. Everything that you see on film, except the actor, an art director has something involved with.
So the set.
Primarily it's designing and building sets and scenery.
Oh, okay.
You know, so I did the blueprints for the sets
Wow.
and scenery. It was huge. Yeah. Like, talk about utilizing everything you've ever learned.
Right.
You know, and math. Like, Mariah's good at math. I'm good at math. But now she's getting annoyed with it. You know, she's like, I'm never going to use this. I'm like, I used every bit of math I ever learned and then some.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out stuff. I'm always calculating, blah, blah, blah. So designing sets and scenery, and as well as coordinating everything. You're coordinating with the props department, with the set decoration department, special effects, you know, snow, cars, you name it.
Wow.
It was a blast.
How long did you do that?
Blast. Started about mid-20s. I mean, I did it for a good 12, 15 years.
That's a
It was
career.
my primary career.
Yeah.
Primary career. I was an art major. I was a fine arts major.
Okay.
So art was everything. I loved it.
Right.
Although, oddly enough, I started out as a biology major
Did you really?
because I love science too.
So you have kind of a both brain thing going on.
I do. I'm like
Yeah.
right in the middle. I have the creative, and I'm going to suggest to do these Holland career tests.
Yeah.
Because I just did one recently just to check. You know, you can do free ones online. But
Wait, what is that?
strongly suggest for anyone that's looking for a second career, like we did, or their first career. I think kids, you know, high schoolers should do it. Holland, just like Holland, career test you can find online
Okay.
for free, but I suggest doing the ones that you have to pay for. They're a little more in-depth, but it basically gives you your propensity, what you're good for. I score 100% in creativity, and then it's like creativity, thinking, analytical, science. So there's those two things, you know, and then also helping people and stuff, and
Right.
being so that's why I'm in the helpful career now.
So you were fine arts major. Was it, I mean, forgive my ignorance, was it visual arts? Like
Visual
painting?
arts,
Or,
yes.
okay, yeah.
Painting and drawing, sculpture.
Okay.
I went to Cal State Long Beach,
Okay.
and they were known for a fabulous art department from the 60s.
Really?
Yes, extensive. Like, you can take art history in absolutely anything, and, you know,
That's great.
ancient Chinese pottery. You know,
Wow.
yeah, it's you have to take the main art history, which is Renaissance, Western
I took that one.
art world. Yeah, good. Everybody needs to know that.
Yeah,
Need
yeah.
to know.
I think so. I think everybody does need to know that.
Right, the Sistine Chapel and Michael
Right.
Michelangelo. Yeah.
All that stuff.
Um,
And you loved that. So then why did you
Loved that.
stop being an art director?
okay, so that's what we're talking about today. Well, I had a baby.
Yes.
I art directed right up until we started doing infertility. So I saw your podcast on infertility.
I didn't know you did
that.
infertility. You did fertility treatments. I did that
Who
infertility
gets
podcast.
pregnant naturally anymore? Nobody gets pregnant naturally.
Hi, I got pregnant on the pill.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got pregnant beyond unnaturally, supernaturally.
Right. I know. Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
On the pill.
surprise.
That's unbelievable.
On the pill. Been on the pill since I was 16. I was 32 when I got pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. I guess my hormones were like, move aside.
Yeah,
It's
Time.
Right.
It was meant to be.
Right. Good.
But you got
good.
pregnant. Okay. So
Yeah,
pause,
so baby.
baby,
Right.
and then you paused.
And then a
right?
pause. Big
And then
pause. Well, actually, little pause. At a year, I thought, I'll go back to work after a year. And at a year, I was still nursing.
Yeah.
And Michael was working full time. And what else? Oh, I got a call for a job to work on Alias. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. I love that show. It's 5 seasons in. It's not going to be that hard. I'll take it, And I took the job. Was going to start on Monday. Michael came home early that day. And he's like, hello, we don't have a nanny. Oh. We don't have, you're still nursing? Like, who's going to take care of this child? And like, oh, it won't be that hard. It's like, no, 5th season, it's going to be even harder. There's going to be more explosions. There's going to be more ratings, that they need. And so art direction for television is a minimum 10-hour day, 7 to 7. I never work less than 7 to 7.
Right.
Sometimes more. Like when Michael's on a job, I don't see him. It's sometimes leaving at 5 a.m. doesn't get home till 10 p.m.
Right.
And so if we both do that, and then 2 creative people, I know you're going to say similar stuff.
So your husband is an art director also?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Like we had dual libraries. Like back in the day when you had catalogs and molding catalogs, everything. We had we still have like books for days in the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
How crazy that you married someone in your same field.
Right. Almost the exact.
Did you meet him that way?
We did. We crossed paths at a set production. Scenario. Oh my God, going way back. I was a carpenter on the 105 freeway, a union carpenter. What are you going to do with a fine arts major? I don't know. I thought I'd build stuff. I did it the really hard way. And then I thought, well, I'll build sets and scenery.
Right.
That would be fun, more creative.
Right.
So I actually got a job in an office at a set production company over here in North Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And, I'm billing this stuff going, okay, $10,000 for a giant ice cream cone? That's kind of cool.
Right.
Like, oh my God. So there's money in creative stuff? I mean, literally that's what went ding, ding, ding.
Right. Right. Because the 101 freeway carpentry wasn't paying a lot, I'm assuming.
$8.72 an hour.
Wow. That's kind of a lot for back then, right?
That
is hard work.
Right. But where am I going with this?
You met Michael while you were both.
Yes, so we crossed paths there. And I knew of him. He was in kind of my circle of people,
Got it.
So back then. Yeah, and then we met years later at a friend's party, and like, oh, okay.
It took off from there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Ellen, how was your job different than Vita's as art director?
I'm a different kind of art director. So I was out of New York. I went to school in New York. I went to the Fashion Institute and worked in advertising, and then hated it and moved over to design, worked in design firms, and then had my own company. The biggest I had like 10 employees, and we had some good clients. We had the World Bank and Columbia University, New School University. So I kind of took it, as far as I could. And then we got we had our first daughter in New York, and it was the same conversation. I was like, let's just bring her in the office. What are you talking? I bring the dog in the office.
Yeah, right.
Every day.
Right.
He just goes in the backpack. And my husband was like, what are you talking about? And he was on world tour at the time. Like the fact that
what world tour? What does he do?
So he's a musician. His main band now is Tears for Fears, but he was out with. When I got pregnant with both daughters, he was out with Enrique Iglesias. So it was kind of the same thing. Luckily, we didn't have any fertility issues because it was,
one and
Toronto
done.
And
right, one and done.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I hope they never hear this.
Surely they know how babies are made, so they must put 2 and 2 together.
Exactly.
Mom and dad at some point.
Yeah, and it just seemed like. Yeah, I mean, if we can keep a dog alive, we can,
surely.
This is easy.
Yeah.
And then, that conversation happened, and he was still on tour, and he was in and out, and so I had to kind of make that decision, and I was kind of ready. It was post 9/11, so it was a very tricky time in terms of, okay, what am I doing with this company? Where am I going with it? Things had kind of slowed down in New York, so it was difficult, and I was really the only salesperson. So, and I kind of lost my steam because now I was pregnant, and I had actually started going back to school. I was at Columbia at Teachers College taking my art education. So I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And a friend of mine said, you're going to get $100,000 degree to get a $13,000 a year job. And I was like,
Oh.
I didn't really actually think about that.
Excellent math. Excellent math. Okay.
So was that your master? You were working on a master's
I
for
was working
art
on a
education?
master's. Yeah, and I knew I wanted
I did the
to.
exact same thing.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
To be an art teacher?
I went to Northridge.
Yes.
I got into the Northridge master's program for art education.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2 classes, and they happened to be all writing classes. Oh my God, they were the hardest writing classes I ever took.
Oh, that's so. Mine was development. So I loved it.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I loved Teachers College so much. I loved it was like adolescent development, which is interesting that, this is, and I just loved it. And then we ended up moving out here, and there wasn't anything. I looked at the CSUN degree. I looked at Art Center, which was like similar, they had a similar degree, but I just couldn't find anything because it was the 2 things combined. It was like a fine art, like you had studio time, and then it was also the education portion of it.
Yes, and I wanted more studio time.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, finally in my life, I'm going to paint.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I wrote.
Yeah.
I went to art school to become a good writer.
Yeah. It was a lot of
writing.
writing.
Writing is an art.
Absolutely, absolutely.
fine
Which
art.
is your art. Yeah.
That's crazy that you both went back to get your master's as an art educator, and then you both ended up. What is your degree now? Or I know, Vita, you're still working on your intern hours. Is that right?
Intern hours, correct.
Okay.
But I finished my degree a few years ago. It was a master's of psychology with emphasis in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was yours?
Master's in psychology and my emphasis in school psychology. And then we have to simultaneously complete our credential. So I have both.
Which credential do you have?
I have my
Psychology?
It's a credential in school psychology.
School psychology.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we
Right,
don't
right,
do like a
right.
K through 12 because we can service kids from pre-K all the way to 12. Actually
Okay.
beyond, because some of our special ed kids are there until they're 22.
Sure. Right. And I was
Yeah.
looking at the school psychology, the PPS.
Yes.
I started that. I didn't finish that because
Yeah.
too many more classes. Yeah.
And I had interviewed I knew I wanted to get into therapy at some, psychology, psychiatrist. I was like, there's no way. I don't have enough time in my life.
That's a doctorate. Yeah.
That's a doctorate
Yeah.
degree, right? That's medical school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I ended up interviewing people, and every person that I interviewed that was, an MFT or, in that field in some way, they said, if I had it to do over again, I would have gone for my school psychology. And I was like, and I went back and I looked at my notes and I was like, here.
How about
Here.
Good
that?
for you,
interesting.
girl. Oh my God, good for you.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that
But-
you kept looking back in your
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So what happened? Either one of you can answer this too. What happened that made you want to go back to school? Did anything happen? Did you just say, it's time? Where the kids were old enough, now I need to move on. I'm feeling terrible about myself. I need to bolster myself. Anything happen? Anything?
I had an event. I mean,
You had an event?
sort of an event.
Like
My
a party?
daughter, when she was in 3rd grade, started having really bad behaviors. And my husband was working on a show, and so he was in and out of town a lot, and they would escalate when he was out of town. And I had one summer where I literally couldn't get her out of bed, and she was in 3rd grade.
Oh my goodness.
Like I couldn't get her out of bed, and it was just a terrible time. I couldn't figure it out. So we ended up taking her to see somebody. She was not making any progress after like 6 months of it. So we ended up doing all this research, and I ended up being kind of her advocate, trying to get, her involved with this, the therapist, going on to get an assessment done. She was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And, we ended up getting her help. But in the context of that, I had done so much research. And, my eyes had been, not that my eyes were, there's a lot of mental illness in my family that I had kind of closed my mind to and put that on the shelf. And all of a sudden it was, right here. And there was my daughter who was truly suffering. And so she got the diagnosis, and, we started her on a treatment path. But I wasn't satisfied with the interventions. you know, with the way that and I was reading everything and I was like, but what can we do? But what can we do? But what can we do? And so as I started researching this, I said, I want to know more. And if that means going back to school and getting a degree, I want to know more about what I can do to help her or to help other kids. And and so that's where I started researching what facet of this field do I want to go into, because I literally felt like I had no choice.
Right.
This is where I'm going. This is where my brain is driven. You know, the idea of going back and designing, you know, some shampoo packaging was I was like, who cares? Like literally who cares? Yeah.
You'd moved to a different phase of life.
Yeah.
And had a different focus, sounds like. That's really amazing. I think that's amazing that you, my youngest daughter is dyslexic. And I did something similar too. I have no interest in being an educator or a tutor, but I really kept going, where's the intervention and how can I read more and how can I find out more and how can I just get more information? I have to help her.
Yeah.
And the quest and the need to help. I completely understand what you're talking about. If she had anxiety or depression or something like schizophrenia even. I don't know if it even shows up. I don't know enough about psychology at that age, but something like that, I would imagine I would have done something similar. I don't know if I would have then I can also get a degree in this. I would just be absorbing the information without being, you know, maybe not smart enough, but not like wise enough to go, hey, wait a minute, I could maybe make this bigger than just my daughter. So it's a really giving thing to do, is to say, how can I help other people?
I don't know if it was so giving. You know, it was a selfish act too, because my brain was awakened and I felt like I was bored. I was completely bored with, you know, I could do what I did in my sleep, you know, and I continued to take clients and I narrowed my focus to a really just boring branding, could do the same thing over and over again, made some money on the side, you know, watched Real Housewives of whatever city. And I was like, where is my brain? You know, like all of a sudden my brain was awakened. Right. So I just had a thirst for wanting to know more, you know, and I don't know if it was, I mean, of course you become compassionate about every single person you see on the street then.
Sure.
You know,
how could you not?
Yeah. And what happened?
Not be an empathetic person to be able to go into this line of work. I think we joke about that, you know, at school, you know, we're surrounded by a bunch of empaths, you know. So good and bad.
I enjoy that too. Like I find that like my whole life and brain has switched. And then also moving from, you know, a design, it's not, the people are not as empathic.
So how do you feel like your life and brain has switched? How do you feel? What's different?
I mean, field wise, it is a very kind of self-involved field if you're in design. Maybe art direction might be a little different, but in the capacity that you had, but in branding, it was just kind of, it felt very one-dimensional and you know, so to move into the field of education, you know, because really that's what I mostly work in. It's been fascinating and scary, and you know, you feel like you can't know enough. You know, you can't read enough. You can't will I ever have enough knowledge to feel like I know what to do or I know what to do in this capacity? Right. So, and it's constantly. Every single child that you work with has completely different needs. And I work mostly in special education. So these are all brand new, you know, I'm working with a kid right now that we're pretty sure he won't take his medication and that's how we'll find out. But we're pretty sure he's schizophrenic. He has childhood schizophrenia.
Oh, baby.
And he is 14 now.
Oh, bless his little sweetheart.
Yeah.
Because that is a late teen onset supposed to be, but 14.
And very severe.
That's heartbreaking.
Bless his heart.
So we're trying to get him help, and then how do you get him help? And what do these look like? And you know, so you know that, and then kids with Down syndrome, and how do I, you know, work with them, and how to, you know, so it's
what an array.
Yeah, it really is.
That's a huge spectrum, so to speak, of knowledge you'd have to have.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I would imagine it would rely a lot on instinct because you can't possibly know everything about everything. But right, it would have to. I mean, I'm just speculating from an outsider. Would have to boil down to like these few key things that you kind of go, I feel this. Let's look into that.
There's so much evidence-based treatment out there now, which I love. I pore over the books, the adult treatment planner, the adolescent treatment planner, which incorporates a lot of CBT and then a lot of psychotherapy. So there is real. I am a very treatment-oriented type of person in my work, and I try to gear those goals and treatments and interventions for each kid. You know, you can't drill it into them. It's this, I call it weaving. I mean, there's so much weaving, you do, because when, especially working with all the kids and adolescents, there's a lot of, you have to gain their trust, you have to make it fun and interesting, keep them interested and
motivated,
engaged. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of engagement. So,
and it's all data driven. But I mean, I think from the very beginning, it was because I have to do both. I do a lot of assessments, a lot of IEP meetings, and then counseling also. But the counseling part of it was very easy, and I think that's just from being a mom.
Right. The mom stuff really helps.
The mom stuff. So we've got all this data driven, and I'm doing all, with this child that I was talking about, he can't really deal with anything. Sometimes we meditate. There's not really too much that I can do with him. I'm trying to get him into an NPS and, but he comes to me every day. He just needs a soft place to land. And I have a granola bar for him every day.
Bless his little heart.
And so, I mean, it's like, I'm not using anything that's data driven. There is nothing that I'm doing that any individual can't do, but he just needs, so there's that mom aspect of it where you feel like, wait, I know this.
Yeah. Right.
I know this kid.
Right.
So it's, and you're such a warm person. I would imagine that's so,
For the most part.
that's the thing kids, that's how you engage them.
Right. A safe, warm, inviting space.
Right.
They feel like they can open up to, and that you're going to be there. You're dependable. You're there every week. So, yeah.
So what made you want to go back to school, Vita?
Well, I was actually doing some decorating with a dear friend, love. And it was good, and I was able to juggle the mom stuff. But I was thinking, well, long term. I need something long term that's a career that I can help support the family.
Right.
Art direction's great, but it's still below the line, doesn't make like the big money or, makes a living.
Right.
Which thank goodness we have. But I wanted a career, and I always loved, I had positive experiences in therapy throughout my life. Some struggles, teenage stuff, young adult stuff, some depression. So, yeah. Early on.
Yeah.
And I had positive experiences with therapy. So I loved it, and I was always open-minded to it. I'm Southern California. I'm a progressive thinker. I mean, you don't have to be progressive to be from California, but
most people are that live here, especially in the arts and Hollywood.
Pretty much, yeah. And dabbled in with the scientific stuff too. So, so I thought it'd be a good fit. And I was researching schools and stuff, and I thought, oh, here's a 2-year program that's kind of geared for working people and, second career stuff, although there's a lot of young people. I think I was mostly the oldest person in the class. I'm like that everywhere now. I'm like at Barry's boot camp. I'm the oldest person here.
Well, I don't want you to say, you don't have to say your age. I'll be 49 in August. And I know we're close in age.
50.
We're all close in age. But so just for people who listen, do you have a perspective? You guys aren't 35.
I'm 54. I got no ages.
You're 54?
Oh, thanks. Oh, great.
I knew you were older than me only because you had told me that when we went camping for Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
But you're 54?
54.
She's only reacting like that because you look so fabulous.
You do,
you.
but I thought you were like 50. I thought you were just
I'm just like, I hope
I
the
thought she
hair
was
works
35.
today.
Well, she looks 35, but I knew she was older than me because she had told me that
Don't
before.
get too close.
And if I'm 49, it's the neck, right?
Yeah.
The chicken neck.
Yeah.
My mother used to
Weird
talk
stuff
about it.
going on.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I mean, can't CBD do something for that?
Right.
Come on. It's for
Right.
everything else, but not the chicken
That's
neck.
right. That's right.
Or the hormone fluxes that come with this age. Bert actually went to the CBD place down the street and was like, so my wife's like perimenopausal. You got anything for that? And she went, no. I have something for some of the symptoms, but I can't cure that. That's just hormonal. You're just going to have to do it.
I would think they'd have something for that. But
I think they have stuff for like to help you
CBD.
sleep if you're not sleeping well.
Yeah. Well,
That's not perimenopausal specific.
No.
Yeah.
Progesterone and estrogen are pretty good for that.
I think
so.
that's what we're lacking, which is why we're getting the chicken neck.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you had
all right.
positive experiences, and then
Yes.
you were like, well, maybe that would be something I would.
Yeah, and I was looking for a long-term career that I can do into my old age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that I can work around Maria. So private practice was something I was looking at, and I love studying. I love psychology. I love the sciences and stuff. So it was a good melding for me.
Right.
But it was scary. I'm like, what the heck? The first semester, what the heck am I doing? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, can I do this? Do I want to make this commitment? It's a huge commitment. Mm-hmm. 2 years of studying and nose to the grind. Mm-hmm. I mean, looking back, there's only so many hours in a day for a mom.
Yeah.
Stuff had to go, and it was pretty much cooking and cleaning.
Right.
Thank God for frozen food.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Thank God for Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. And then occasionally Gelson, the hot food bar. Oh my God.
Yeah, that is a question that I had was how did you do that? What shifted in your house? I think we talked briefly when we first started talking about this, about how the kids had to take over things that you used to do. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about that. What happened there when you are all of a sudden 2 years in this program or however long?
And mine's 3.
Yours was 3.
It's 3, and it is full time. They say you can work, and that was a big undertaking. You can work a little bit your first semester.
Oh God. Just your first semester.
Just your first semester, because we have to complete our 1,700 hours of internship hours unpaid.
Wait,
during
1,700?
1,700
While you're going to school.
While you're doing
your master's.
So it's a difficult. It was
How do people afford
Not for
to
me.
do this?
I didn't have 1,700. You had 1,700.
1,700. Yeah, it's a sacrifice.
Huge.
I was lucky to have a working spouse, and somehow, but whose income goes like this because
Right.
he's in the entertainment industry, and he at first was not on board.
Oh, yeah?
Because it was a very scary undertaking. It was like, and I said, I mapped it all out. I said, this is what I will make. And I felt like I couldn't really go into an MFT because there is a fluctuation there.
Right. It's a little more risky.
It's a little more risky.
Yeah.
Why?
Yours is more solid.
Yeah.
Why is it more risky?
Because
What's an MFT?
So marriage and family therapist, which is
Oh, okay.
therapy, basic
Got
therapy.
it.
It's just what
That's
California
what you
kind of calls
are.
it.
That's what you are
Correct.
going for. Okay,
Yes.
and you have the school psychology. Okay,
Yeah.
got
But
it.
you still got your hours for marriage and family therapy, right? So you could do
you can no
private
longer
practice
do
if
it.
need
You
to?
can no longer do
Oh.
them simultaneously.
Oh.
You used to be able to.
Oh.
So if I wanted to go
That's
for MFT, I would have to go back and then do
no.
the 3,000 hours. That won't happen.
Wowza.
But I can do private. I can get what's called an LEP license.
Okay.
So that's a matter of. I think I just have to take. I think there's just a very difficult test that I have to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll.
And what does that do for you?
So that means you're a licensed educational psychologist, and so you can have a private practice.
I see. So if my child has dyslexia and I don't know what's going on, I could take her to you,
And I
as
would
an
do the
independent-
outside
Okay,
assessment. And yeah,
Got it. And they make a lot.
you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
They
Yeah.
make a lot.
And that'll probably be down the line. I do like working within the school district. I was working on my own for so long, I was kind of freelancing on my own, and that was the last thing that I wanted, was to continue along that path. I wanted to work with people.
Communities,
Yeah.
sort of. So it was hard. Your husband was not on board in the beginning, you said.
No, was just, and just kind of scared. What's going to happen, what's going to happen. This is a big change.
Right.
And then once he was on board, he is he's so supportive.
That's great.
Once he was on board, it was 1,000%. And this is a very difficult year. I'm at a really difficult school. And they say the first year of being a school psych it's more difficult than any of your schooling. And it is crazy town.
Why? Why is it more difficult?
Because you are completely on your own. You're expected to know all the laws. You're expected to know. I'm at a very, very difficult school up in Sylmar. So it's a very high need school. All supports have been taken out.
Oh, really?
So your last year, you're doing just full internship. And,
and, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So I have a mentor and I have a supervisor, but you are on your own.
So it's a steep learning curve, sort of.
Yes.
Like trial by fire, sort of.
It is trial by fire. And you are, every day I feel like my brain is like hitting my skull, it's expanding and and it's great, but it's very fast paced. And all of my, I was really, really lucky to have two great supervisors my internship year, and they were like, oh yeah, it's a shit show. Just hold on and make it. You got to just make it to the end.
Right.
And that's just,
what you gotta do.
He's been super supportive. One of my daughters, who has ADHD, we started ordering Blue Apron.
Ooh.
And so when she was 11, she started twice a week. She would cook the family meal.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow. So that was her thing. And it really kind of helped her because the directions were all right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
So she was really, really helpful. And then Isabel, because, I don't know how it was for you when you first started. My brain, just from being a mom, I had attention deficit disorder. I could not focus on the reading. It was just what am I supposed to do? This is how you are as a mom. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Not, I have to sit down for the next 5 hours and write this paper. I have to sit down for the next 2 hours and read these, And it was, and so is my older daughter, who is incredibly studious, set me up with Quizlet, and she would sit with me in bed and go, Mom, are you looking at Facebook right now? It was like that first semester of learning curve was
role play.
Yeah, like I hadn't been in school in 15 years.
Right.
I'm actually really glad you say that. You said that about the distractibility.
Yeah.
Because I started feeling like I was like, do I have early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, or I'm constantly looking for something. I was an avid reader.
Yeah.
Until recently. I still read and intend to read a lot, and I can read for maybe 7 minutes.
Yep.
And then I don't have the focus. That makes me feel better, because I thought, is something wrong with me? Do I need to start doing Sudoku puzzles and exercise my brain? I can't stay on this page. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Mom thing. Yeah, because we have to do a million things all day, and our brains are constantly scheduling everything. Okay, what's the schedule this week? And when do I need to get her home? When do I need to pick her up? Okay, she's got this to study and that test coming up, which Mariah handles beautifully all on her own.
Right.
I'm supposed to be on Schoolology and be checking on her. I haven't even signed in all year.
You're lucky.
She is on top of
Consider yourself lucky.
Very.
I got one. I got to ride like a horse, man. I got to ride that little one like a pony in a race. That one, she could care less. She just wants to draw. And I don't blame her. She's really good.
Amazing artist.
She's amazing, and from you, that's a huge compliment.
Oh yeah, she looked like that looked like almost a college study. It was beautiful. That charcoal drawing that you posted.
That charcoal drawing was crazy. Her art tutor was like,
really good.
She should not be doing that. She should not be able to understand what shadowing is to the level that she does, because her brain is so spatially intelligent. Which she in fourth grade tested 18 years old in spatial intelligence, was reading at a second grade level.
Wow.
That's the way her brain is imbalanced that way, her processing.
Right.
But man, Schoology's my best friend. And my best friend. I'm on that every day. Do you have any homework? No, I don't have any homework. Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, I'm positive. Why don't we take a look on Schoology? Fine, I have math. And I'm like, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Every day. She's a little criminal, that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if she goes to a school that doesn't have something like that, we're both screwed.
Right.
For her, she doesn't have the currency. She doesn't care. about her grades or school, which I think in one way is awesome.
It's kind of good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that she's not going to get all stressed out about it.
No stress,
Yeah.
no negative self-esteem. Her currency is all social. She's doing fabulous social.
Nice.
So, but I keep going, I just got to get her out of high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't know that this
Get her
one's going to go to
graduate.
college.
Get her-
Maybe she will.
Maybe not.
But I don't really care. I just need to get her out of high school.
Yeah.
We're not dropping out. That's my thing. You got to graduate
She
high
needs
school.
a degree.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of programs and IEPs and
She's
different
got it.
alternatives. Yeah.
She's got an IEP. She's
Great,
had one since
good.
first
Where's she
grade.
at right now?
She's at
Oh, nice.
And you know, sorry. You got to edit that out. Sorry. I don't ever say the school because I don't want anybody to know where they go to school.
Yeah, good idea.
Wasn't gonna ask.
No, that's okay. It's, the school she's in, she's very happy.
Yeah.
And she's
good.
making A's and B's.
Yay.
I'm not sure they're rigorously earned. I think they're pretty much like you showed up,
Yep.
you got an A.
Yep.
But for her, coming from our elementary school, which was a really high achieving elementary school, and like
Highly rigorous and academic.
yes, and she was constantly in the ones and twos there. So for her, I'm like, in her brain, she sees that A and goes, yes.
Yeah.
And you need to feel that. You need to feel that confidence. It's going to build her confidence
That's
and
right.
going like, I can do it, as opposed to always being too challenged.
Yes.
Like, I can't do this.
That's
you know?
right.
I mean,
That's why I put her there in the program I put her in. I hired a consultant to tell me where to put her because I was like, I don't know what to do with this kid.
Yeah.
I mean, half the people are telling me to send her to Westmark, which is a dyslexia school. Half the people are telling me to send her this Summit View, which is for ADHD and learning disability children. I've toured both schools. Neither of them are her. Like, I can't see her in those schools at all.
Okay.
Because she's so socially driven.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought I need to make sure, I know middle school is about not entirely, but it's less about their education and more about
the
their
social.
self-esteem and their positive, having a positive experience, I think is really important in middle school.
Right.
And so I was looking for that. And that I have really scored.
Good.
And her reading is improving. She's discovered graphic novels on an app, which I'm not crazy about her using an electronic, but she won't read an actual graphic novel, but she will read it on an app. She'll read like 40 pages a day.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I'm like, what's happening? And even her tutors, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
doing
and I
it.
just keep thinking that's the way she's going to be. She's not going to skin a cat like everybody else does. She's going to skin it the way she does it. And that's just what I have to be open to.
That's right.
And not
build on her strengths.
Build on her
Yeah.
strengths.
So we do a lot of strength-based stuff
Do ya?
with kids. Oh, yeah. Find what they're good at, find what they're interested in, and build from there. And then add their social skills and communication skills.
So
and all
before I
that.
forget to ask you, what happened? What shifted in your household? How was everybody
Going to
supportive?
school?
Everybody happy? Was it hard? Scary?
It was hard. Michael was supportive. He's always pretty supportive. I think he wants to see the money. He's like,
Yeah.
show me the money.
Yeah.
And he was worried in the beginning. I mean, well, yeah. Let's kick the reality here. At first, he was kind of like, I didn't really tell him I was going to go. Like, oh, by the way, I'm doing this program.
You didn't tell him? You just started
Not so
going?
much because he's so busy, and I
Right.
don't want to worry him. And I
Right.
thought, I'll try it for a semester. And
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You just stick your toe in the water and see how it felt.
And then once you go, you're like, okay, I can't afford not to go or let this one, $8,000 a semester at least.
Wait,
plus
it's
books and stuff.
$8,000 a semester?
Yeah, and that's cheap. That's actually cheap.
Yeah.
That's on the.
Yeah.
People came out from the East Coast because this was a less expensive school, and it's a highly regarded. It's been around since the 70s. It was the family therapy center.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's from the 70s. I mean, they had big speakers back then, big
Right.
psychology speakers. And great staff, great program, all accredited. And it was on the cheaper end. Yeah. So so that's the other thing that
Right.
you have to consider at this age in life. Should I be putting money towards my investment for retirement?
Right.
Or should I be going back to
And
school?
what does that look like? I had a whole spreadsheet.
You did.
Yeah, like this is what we're looking at. This is what, and my husband.
What do you mean? What was on your spreadsheet? How much financial investment?
Yeah, financial investment, what that's going to look like on the payback. How much a month that's going to be.
Right.
What we were currently paying for our own insurance, and it was just going up every month. And I said, this is an opportunity for me to be with, I'm with LUSD.
Right.
Our entire family is covered 100%.
That is
with health insurance.
Amazing. I mean,
so
in
it's
LA,
fantastic.
I don't know what you were paying, but we pay for our own insurance. It's it's over $1,000 a month.
Yeah, it was
For
like
our-
it
for-
was
with
like
a
family. Yeah.
ridiculous deductible
Family in
and
LA.
nothing was
crazy.
covered, and
Nothing's
all
covered, yeah.
therapy outside of that was not covered
Yep.
at all, and psychiatrists are not covered at
Yep.
$275 an hour.
more,
and
more. Lordy Lord.
yeah, so it's so I was like, the data. Here's the data.
Right.
This is what we're looking at.
Right.
And then now,
Love that.
now there's like a benefit. So we're on the other side of it.
Right.
Even though it is a shit show.
It's just a learning. It's a learning year. It's a learning year.
It's a learning year, but at
Everybody
least
has
it's
a
with
learning year.
baby.
What's your caseload? Do you know?
Well,
Or it varies
it varies. I mean, I had 19 kids that I was seeing
per week.
per week for counseling.
Yeah.
And then, but then my assessment load, I think we just clocked it at, I'll have 70 for the year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's those big, so if you went
Yeah.
through the IEP process, that's that big
It's
one.
a lot.
It's a lot. So then if you're doing a kiddo who's showing signs of, emotional disturbance, autism, intellectual disability, if you're looking at all those areas, it's a huge, 30-page report. So
Not to mention the myriad of tests you have to give them.
yes.
That help you generate the 30-page
Yes.
report. That's
Right.
insane.
And then
70?
So they've actually taken away all of my counseling. I've kept a couple of kids, that are mine. Like
The granola bar boy.
yeah, you're good. Well, he's not even my kid. He just comes by for granola bars. Like I know the most about him, but he's not even assigned to me.
How funny. He just resonates with you. Or the granola bar.
I'm
One of
Checking
the
in.
two.
He's doing a check-in with
and
you.
I'm there every day. So I
Right.
do love. I
Oh,
love
I
that.
see.
So I'm there every day. So I'm literally like the home.
Right.
And I've got my kids that'll come in. They come in during lunch. I've got kids. Like a lot of spectrum kids who didn't have friends. So they would come in, I would have Uno out or I'd have Jenga out, and I'd continue working on my reports. And sometimes I'd play with them and then I'd get them together to play. And then so there were little, groups that were forming and friendships that were, because it's hard, those big campuses, those
Oh, it's
big
huge.
comprehensive
I walked by
campuses.
and saw some of my kids on the spectrum. One adorable teenager sitting by herself. And she'd always sit by herself. So I sat down with her a few times.
Oh,
and had
that's so
lunch.
awesome.
I know, when I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Burbank Family Services, they did start some lunchtime programs for
Good.
kids. Yeah.
Good.
Who were it was open to anybody
Yeah.
who wanted to come.
Yeah.
And it was great. They did basically they could have lunch and they're doing group therapy.
Yep.
Sneak in that little group therapy stuff.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So
So
there's some great programs. I mean, California's pretty progressive when it comes to stuff like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it is in some ways, and in some ways I find it to be
I
not at
know.
all. In the field of dyslexia, not at all. I talk to my friends from Georgia and they do so much more in the learning disability area than we do here. Stuff people here have never even heard of, don't even understand.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's the learning disability field. That's not mental health, and I'm assuming they would be very different fields.
Well, that's what, but
Right.
that's my field also.
Oh,
so
it's learning
we have
disability.
just added, as part of LAUSD, we've just added dyslexia. We
Yes.
used to say we don't test for dyslexia.
Oh, yes. I have a great school psychologist at elementary school because I had been asking since she was 4 because I was like, something's not, she's super smart, but she does not know her alphabet. Like that.
Interesting.
Sight words,
Yep.
forget it.
Yeah.
So what's wrong? Like she needs to repeat kindergarten. Should we not start kindergarten? I was asking when she was 4. And then finally, Miss Katz in 1st grade went, I think she's dyslexic. Let's get her tested. And I was like, thank God. I've been to everybody. I've been to the
Right.
principal. I've been to the special ed teacher here. I've been to her teacher. I've been asking everybody. And they keep going, she's fine. It's developmental. And I'm like, it's freaking not.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not, because you know.
Good for you, and you
It's
got to
not.
fight for that. Yeah.
So Miss Katz finally was like, let's do this.
Good.
And Miss, the school psychologist at the time said, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but she's dyslexic. But I can't test her for that.
Yeah.
So in order for me to get her qualified, I had to do 8 different tests to finally find a processing, a place where her
Processing
processing
deficit,
was
yeah.
really slow. So she's qualifying as this, but she's actually dyslexic. But we don't have anyone trained to help her with dyslexia because the district doesn't recognize it. And I was like, that is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard.
They do now.
crazy.
And
Now-
there are more interventions,
Finally.
you know, but yeah.
But that's something on the East Coast is like, oh yeah, she's dyslexic, and here's what we do: boom, 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 boom,
That
and
is
it's
strange.
handled. Like one of my middle school best friend, Becky. Hi, Becky. Said, oh yeah, they just have a school like everyone in the county that has dyslexia goes to school for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, however long it takes to remediate that, and then they just go back to their regular school. It's no big deal.
Fantastic.
And I was like, bring it on.
Can
Where
you
is
imagine
that?
We had that here.
Just one LD school where you can go, because with intervention you can get up to speed. But if you don't have, and we tried so many out of my own pocket, so many different types of intervention, but no one here is really trained because it's not recognized, and so there's no money in it. So I couldn't get it. Well, I'm not a dyslexia tutor per se, but I have this for reading, and I'm like, it's really a processing problem. She's
Absolutely.
processing something. It's not about reading. It's for her type of dyslexia. If she can't see what the word means, she can't read it. So you can't see what the word "the" means, or any sight word.
Right.
If you can't visualize if horse, she can read that. But if the, she would mix up the and a. And I'm like, one's a letter, lady.
Right.
I mean, it's a letter A. And you see that and say, the.
Right.
This is a processing problem. Something's really off. Now, I wish that California would bring that piece up, because I think you are right. It is much more progressive with mental health.
Yeah.
And still not even progressive enough, I don't think.
No, no.
Well,
for sure.
even, you
And
know-
they don't want to pay for it. Is that?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, it's all comes down to money.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay for it, and that's why there were some very frustrating elements working in the school.
Absolutely. But the
Yeah.
biggest one, I think, dyslexia, but ADHD. You know, so once we were done with the whole anxiety, depression, we had to focus on my other daughter, who we always knew, you know, but I think it's cruel to even try and diagnose ADHD in a child that's even in 2nd grade, because they could, you know, you have to see where that maturity is.
Right.
But then when she was in 6th grade and I was on a field trip, and they were all the kids were, you know, they were so lovely, and they were all, I think we were at the Getty, and they're all looking at the same painting, and she's looking behind. I was like, what are you looking at? What are you doing? Don't touch the paintings. What is happening?
Don't touch the painting. Okay, the alarm's going off now. We got to leave.
I was like, okay, we got to. And, you know, of course, you know, she was kind of off the charts and, you know, got some interventions. But for the most part with ADHD, and this is where, you know, in an IEP meeting, I will go, you know, there's not too much we can do.
Right.
We're not doing the kinds of interventions that really recreate those brain paths. And that's the kind of thing, because my daughter has it, that I'm studying, I'm trying to get more knowledge in that area. We moved them to the front of the room. We give them extra time on tests. We give them an area where they can take tests where they're, you know, isolated from others. We add a prompting element to it. But you know, it's neuroplasticity.
Yes.
It's a matter of their brains, and it's the same thing with dyslexia.
Yes, it is.
It's been seen a certain way. Those
right.
grooves are dug. It's the same thing with depression. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there needs to be more interventions that create those new pathways, you know, and that is every day,
Right.
you know, and so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll give them therapy. You know, so they'll have counseling, you know, like a group counseling every other week.
Every other week.
Yeah. I had some odd
like doing
IEP,
nothing.
Right. I had some odd IEP times, and
Yeah,
and
I mean-
30 minutes, you know, and that was very specific. Obviously, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Goals of just social emotional, and it's like, this kid needs way more.
Way more. This kid needs somebody to check their planner every single day.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they just don't have. I guess maybe they really just don't have the funding for it. I wonder too, because Isla, when she was younger, I kept saying she needs an aide, but not really.
Right.
She needs someone to go, they're on page 49.
Right.
Because that's the one piece she missed in the 8 steps the teacher just said.
Right.
Take out your book, take out your pencils, get your notebook, turn to page 49, cross your feet, shuffle your toes, let's go. And she's like, I got the toes.
Right, exactly.
And she just needs someone to
Multi-step.
go,
Yeah.
page 49. And then she's, okay, I'm good. And hers was never ADHD or ADD or anything, ever. Everybody that ever tested her was like, she absolutely does not have that.
Yeah.
She has a processing problem where she can't process multiple steps and the dyslexia piece. And
It would be a conceptualization. So there's the multi-step
Right.
aspect to it.
Right.
And most kids do.
most kids do.
Especially middle school.
That's right. Her most successful year, there was a kid in her class that had Asperger whose parents really fought and paid for a private aide for this kid. And that private aide stood between her assigned child and Isla.
Yeah.
Because the assigned child didn't need any help academically.
Yeah.
So she would just toggle back and forth. She'd help Isla academically and help him with his Asperger, and then academic and Asperger. And it was her best year of school ever. And I kept going back saying, that's what she needs. She doesn't need somebody to sit with her. She doesn't have any behavioral problems.
She is in an IEP though.
Oh yeah, we've had an IEP since
She
first
should
grade.
be in resource.
She is.
And there should be an extra teacher assigned to her then.
There's one sort of.
Sort of. And what, 10 other kids on an IEP?
She has something called a learning center, which is like a study hall with an IEP with a special ed teacher.
Okay.
And there are 10 to 12 kids in that school. Let's put it this way. One of them threatened to kill her last week. So there's a lot of BD kids in, behavioral disorder kids in, with learning disability
Yeah.
kids, and one teacher, no aid. So when there's the teacher's like, I went to
How
talk to
many kids in
her,
the classroom?
10 to 12.
Okay.
And I talked to her about it. She's lovely. She's an amazing person.
Yeah.
She is so well intentioned. She is on top of everything she could possibly be on top of for Isla.
Yeah.
But she told me the fact is, if I have one kid spitting in another kid's mouth
have
and your
to do
daughter that needs help reading,
Right.
I'm
Guess
dealing with
what?
the spit.
Yes,
Crisis.
absolutely.
And that's all I can do. I don't have an aide. She's like, if I had an
Absolutely.
aide, I could focus on Isla and let her deal with the spitting.
Yeah.
Or the I'm going to kill you after school that's
Yeah.
happening. But she doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lucky Lou's like, he's not going to do it. I was like, he's not killing me. The counselor called me from school and was like, just need to let you know that there was a threat made by a student against Isla's life, but she's okay. Everything's fine. The kid's been taken to the dean's office. He's being handled. I can't discuss his issue with you because of his privacy issues, but everything is fine after school. We were like, anything happened in school today, Isla? She's like, no. Anything at all? No?
Yeah.
Oh, did Miss call you? And I went, yeah, she did. She did. And she was like, oh, that guy's not going to do anything. And I thought, thank God for the way that you think, right?
Absolutely.
Because some kids would have really freaked out. And I think she went, okay, he's in the learning center with me because he has an IEP too.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
smart.
Smart.
Good.
I think
so
she
she's
did
very
that.
aware.
And she has a
That's
safe
good.
place to land here.
She does.
She
Big
knows,
time,
you know.
yeah.
She for sure has a good jockey.
And
For the horse I ride to the end of the race.
and that's you know, and that's super important. What is difficult is when you're in a high needs school and you know the kids aren't, parents don't speak English, parents are working 3 jobs,
Right.
parents only had an 8th grade education themselves,
Right.
You know, so
That's impossible.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
And so even with, and we have amazing teachers. I mean, I do love that about being in education, watching people work so hard.
Yeah.
Even when they get frustrated, even when they're done, like they're, you know, they are giving their all. And these, you know, but it really takes like a whole community.
Right.
It needs to be all the way around.
Parents
So-
included.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
That's where the family therapy comes into play, working
Yes.
with kids. I mean, you need to bring the parents in occasionally and stuff. And that's, you know, that there wasn't enough time in the day for that, you know, so
Exactly.
yeah.
So hard.
Yeah.
Well, my first 2 years of college, I was going to be a high school psychologist. Did you know that?
No.
That was, I had the best counselor at my high school, and I thought, that's what I want to do.
You would have been great.
I think I would have been great, but
would've been great, yeah.
life shuffled me a different hand, and I did not do that. And I've oftentimes thought, I wonder if I want to go back and do that. When same as you, Bert's always gone. Kids, Isla needs a lot of hand holding still with academics, and softball and art and play and this and that. And I don't know how I would ever go back to school the way you guys did. I don't know how to do it.
Of course you could do it.
I could do it.
Juggle this.
But I don't know that I'm willing to do it. I don't know that I'm driven to do it at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple years or so. But I don't know. Sometimes listening to you guys talk about it, I think I've gotten lazy. I think I've gotten legitimately lazy.
Well, that's how I was feeling about myself. I was like, wait, this is it? And then my kids are going to leave? And then wait, what?
Yeah, that's why I started this podcast, is I went, okay, I need something to do that I feel like I'm contributing to society in general. That I feel like I'm enjoying, that's creative, a creative outlet for me, because I was always creative too.
Yeah, weren't you doing writing?
Yes, I was a writer. I was a screenwriter, yes, for years.
Was it television or film?
I wrote films.
Okay.
I wrote features. I had one feature that was made and 4 more that were optioned but never made. I'd written 8 screenplays total.
Wow.
I wrote a couple pilots for TV, and I really enjoyed it. And when Bert and I first met, I was making more money than he was in the entertainment world, and I had studios calling me, would you read this book and see if you want to adapt it?
Exciting. Good.
I had a writing partner. They weren't just calling me, they were calling me and her. And when I got pregnant, unexpectedly, trying to prevent getting pregnant. I went, okay, well, then this is my path. I really am one of those people that believes, like you look back in your book and went, oh, wait, wrote down school psychologist here, wrote down interesting. I believe in that too, that sometimes the path reveals itself to you. So I wasn't trying to get pregnant. I knew I loved Bert, but we weren't there yet. We were on our way there, but not there yet. And then God just went, guess what? You're going to have a baby, and this is who it's going to be with. And I think I kind of needed it that way. You guys don't know me very well, but my mom's just divorced her 6th husband. And my dad's divorced twice. I'm an only child, no step siblings in any. Well, I have sort of step siblings now. My dad's been with his current girlfriend for a long time, and she has 3 kids. But
how old are they?
They are all younger than me. I think the youngest one is mid-20s, and the oldest one is probably mid-30s. But I've never lived around them. I know them, obviously, but I haven't spent any kind of family. We don't vacation together or anything like that. They're really nice people. They started dating when I'd been out here for 15 years or so.
Yeah, you already had your own life.
Yeah, and they did too, and whatever. But I don't think I would have gotten married or had kids if that hadn't happened for me, because I just went from my own childhood, my own background. My mother has a personality disorder. We can talk about the semantics of that, not on here, but I've talked about it before, but it's like a legit one. It's not like, oh, I had this really mean mom. No, it's not that. It was
6 marriages.
Something else. 6 marriages,
6
right?
marriages.
And you know
there.
what?
Hello.
It was all their fault.
Of course.
Of course. But I was like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be a career girl, and that's going to be good. I'm going to have lots of pets, and I'm cool. So when I got pregnant, I went, well, this is where I need to go.
Yeah.
And at that point, we had to kind of choose a career, because someone had to be mom. And I was like, Bert couldn't really hold a job in any other field. I can't imagine him doing anything but telling jokes. So I stopped and just got a regular day job to support him, to get him up and running. And I thought, well, I can pick up writing anytime. And I haven't. And I think part of it is that constant interruption of
Busy.
I can't.
Momming is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Momming is
Come
crazy.
on. Haven't they done these studies on how many hours is put in? I mean,
Yeah.
start at 6 a.m. and you know, in between, if you want a clean house, you know, you do some cleaning and cooking and groceries and you name it. And
You're kind of done.
and then pick up. And then I just remember picking up Maria, especially middle school and elementary school. And my life was over. There was nothing. Once you pick up those kids, it's just all out going until lights go out, you know,
Yeah.
until bedtime. And then you pick up where you left off and whatever it is you need to do and take care of.
Right.
So it is a full-time job.
It is.
It's
And
a
I
wonderful
can't-
job. It's an amazing
It
job.
is.
And we're in a village with amazing parents. I look around and just go, oh my gosh, these, you know, we live in a bubble, you know, of great parents. But you do find that across the nation. I don't want to say it's just here. So it's
I think it's just here,
definitely good
Vita.
parents.
I think it's just us. For real.
us.
No, I really do think we live in a very special community.
It is.
There are so
nice,
many wonderful people in this community,
Yeah.
especially women. You know, from my background, I didn't really have any girlfriends till I was about 30 because I thought women were pretty much insane. And, you know, some women are. Some women are very moody and very inconsistent. And I would read that as crazy because that was my experience of a woman was
was your
this
model.
erratic behavior. Then I'd go, well, and I that's trigger, can't do that. But when I moved to this neighborhood, I'd had girlfriends before I moved here. I was like, I've gathered all these women that are all just not crazy. They're all regular, healthy, positive, supportive, cooperative women. That's amazing. Where you think, well, this is the best part of human nature, and men are like that too. But I'd always experienced men like that. I mean, I was super close to my
You had
dad.
a positive role model. Your
Super
father was
positive. My
wonderful.
dad,
Yeah, I met him
my
once.
grandfather, uncle, cousins, everybody. Men were ship shape. Women crazy. No can do. So
Well, and I think that is a tribute to, I was born and raised here, and I see lots of people that migrate here for jobs, for reinvention, for healing, for all these reasons, and they become these really strong, powerful people, you know, with amazing second lives or first lives. So
it's crazy how, you know, I grew up in my hometown's 1,800 people, really small, rural Georgia, and not a lot of people leave because I think if you don't have an experience outside your small bubble, you don't tend to want more than outside that small bubble much because that provides you with everything you need, perhaps. But sometimes I wonder how much stronger, you know, some of the people back home that make poor choices over and over and over again because they haven't pushed out of that bubble ever. And that pushing out of the bubble grows so many muscles that don't even exist when you stay in that bubble, you know, that you go, God, you really aren't living a full life. I'm not implying that anybody who's happily where they are is not living a full life, but people who are not happy and are too scared to do what you did, which was to say, I think I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to start a brand new career in the middle of my life and to be happy. You both seem pretty happy.
that was just crazy. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, crazy does come along as you get older.
Exactly. A little crazy.
You let your crazy hang out a little more. but no, it's really brave.
Well, and I think that you're naturally curious. That's
I
what you
am.
said. And this, you know, and this podcast is very psychological. It's very therapeutic, you know. So you actually
Right, right.
found your way of, you know, quenching that thirst.
I think
in
you're right.
your own way. It doesn't have to be necessarily being a psychologist, being a counselor, being you know, we counsel in our own way in all different aspects of our lives.
Right.
You know, and for me, I was just curious. I just wanted the knowledge. And it's like, I really found out that I've been anxious my whole life.
Really?
You know, I went to my husband after about 2 years in and I said, I have anxiety. He goes, yeah, everyone knows.
Everyone knows. You were the last to know.
It was like, you know, I was checking off every single box.
No
you know, and I was
way.
like, holy crap.
That's so crazy. So then it's been really healing for you, I would
It's been
imagine.
completely healing. And, you know, the thing that helps anxiety is knowledge, is data. And I love it.
Yeah, right.
That's how I am. Knowledge and data.
Knowledge and data.
And everybody that goes through these programs, there is a lot of personal growth.
Yes.
You know, a lot. I mean, when you start reading abnormal psychology and the DSM and everything, you're going like, oh, yeah, that's me, or that's that person in my family, and that's that person in my family, and oh, that's the why I'm this way, you know. And so it really, I mean, you just light bulb after light bulb and stuff. So.
And you have to, because, I had a difficult childhood, and I was like, there's no way I can make it into this field. How can I sit down and counsel a kid when I haven't gotten past my own stuff?
Interesting.
How could I possibly be that person? And that growth was enormous. The first kid who wanted to commit suicide, knowing that I had that same experience in middle school.
You did?
And had really, so you have to move past that. You have to figure out, like, how can I hold these two things?
Yeah.
To be, a support and not fall apart.
Right.
And that first trigger, you've got to, like, work past it. And it is
transference.
Yeah. And it's so healing.
Right.
Knowing that, oh, this is why I experienced that.
Right.
There's a reason for it.
Well, it becomes a source of strength that you can give to them.
Yeah. And so instead of like, oh my God, it's me, you become like, no, I get it.
I got it.
You don't have to say anything. Sometimes a kid will just come in, and I'm sure you have the same experience, and there'll just be something about them, and I'll just know. And then then there's a reveal, and it's like, I could feel that.
That's the instinct you draw on from your own personal experience, right?
Yeah.
Which has got to be a big part of what you do.
Yeah, because you have to be able to believe, I know other therapists and psychologists who don't necessarily always believe the child, and
oh, I know, that drives me crazy.
They have it. They should appreciate their. I mean, really, it's like, did you even like study this? Like,
Right? That's crazy. No empathy.
Yeah, no empathy for the child. Much more empathy for the parent, which you need both.
Yeah, but
but
you have to validate what I'm not an expert, but I would think you'd have to at least have the child feel validated and helped.
That's therapy 101.
Right?
Yeah.
Validation, empathy, hearing, meeting the client where they're at.
Right.
Believing them on a face value.
Right.
Yeah, because that is their experience. Most people that come in, and especially with kids, their kids are not going to lie about this type of stuff. Now, assessing for severity, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But
Right.
Why?
And even
do they
psychosis.
make it less or more when you're assessing?
Well, do they have a means, motive, and a plan? Are they going to take their life today?
Oh, you mean,
so then you're
suicide.
assessing for
Right.
suicide. First of all, believe them. We were talking about believing them. And
for
then you
suicide,
go
yeah.
into assessment, and then so.
How scary. You really do have to deal with that? That's so scary.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
And I did my first 5150. That was my, that's the part, I think, when you are completely on your own. And of course, they bring in a team, and you're working with other people, and you're consulting all the way. But, the first student that I had to hospitalize, I cried out. Took 13 hours.
Oh my God.
And I cried all the way home. I was like, how am I going to get up tomorrow?
Right.
But you do. And that's the thing. You do, because there's a purpose.
Right.
Someone will miss me.
Right.
If I don't, I don't know, like, of course, as a mom, like, they'd miss me, but, really, Dad can take him to school. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you feel like there's a purpose, I got to show up.
Right.
I can't be lazy about it.
Well, the difference is mom and dad have to be there,
Right.
but you don't. So when you seek out that adult support that's there every time and they don't have to be, I think it makes a different impact on the child. At least it did for me. I had a few adults in my life that were always there.
That's awesome.
And those adults made the most difference in my healing as an adult. More so even than my dad, because he was supposed to be there. I mean, that was his job.
Yeah.
My mom didn't show up because she had other things. She had bigger problems, bigger fish to fry than raising me. And as a kid, as an adult, I completely see that very clearly. As a child, you just go, that person's unreliable and untrustworthy. So where do I place my trust? And to have someone because that one's not available, is invaluable.
Yeah.
Invaluable.
Right.
And someone
that's
who
what
doesn't
will save a kid.
It will save, yes.
a person. Just those one or two positive role models and people that are stable and that you can trust and that you can go to in times of need. That's what really provides that resiliency for that child. And so, I mean, what is it, Tyler Perry? And I mean, all these amazing, crazy stories, and these people had, one or two role models that they could go to and got them through. Now, that's not always going to happen. Not
and
everybody's
it's not always
going to
be
have a
someone
success
like you.
story. Yeah. Like you're a huge success story, so.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet. I am a huge success story.
you are.
Not to be braggy,
Yeah.
but I am. I fought
are.
really, really, really hard in my 20s to get well because I was not well. I don't know that I was suicidal outright, but I would always think things like, if I just drive really fast and just cut the wheel really quick, this will be over. This all would be over. And then I go, my luck, it won't be over and I'll be paralyzed. So I'll just keep going straight. So never mind. That's what that was my reasoning out of not doing that.
Rational mind kicking in.
Yeah, that's where I went, that would be my luck. So just keep driving. We'll get there
Rational or
eventually.
sarcastic mind kicking in.
Yeah, something. I literally would think that. I remember thinking that for a good stretch in my late teens, early 20s, thinking, I just need this to be over. But not thinking like, and if I hang myself then, or the only thing I would ever think of would be the turning the wheel when I was driving too fast. Because I was a very fast driver. So I kept going
like
this
speed.
Yes, I used to drag race.
Oh my God,
It was really fun.
Really?
For money. I'd bet and drag race.
No.
Wow.
I didn't win very
I need
much,
to see
but-
pictures.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any pictures. It was always happening at
amazing.
night. It was always at night
Oh.
on Hog Liver Road.
Ooh, I love it.
Hog Liver
my
Road had
God.
one long stretch, so you could drag race really good on Hog
that's a
Liver Road.
movie.
How
That's your
crazy,
next
right?
movie you're going to write.
Right?
There you go.
So you're a
Be in
thrill
movie.
seeker.
I just watched a Huell Hauser on
I was an
drag
adrenaline-
strip racing. Oh,
I had a
Adrenaline
lot of
junkie?
I had a lot of problems, and I got myself into therapy when I was 24. No, 23, and that caused even more problems because once you start looking at your problems, especially if your problems are enmeshed with a parent who's not well, then that affects your relationship with that parent, which causes another host of problems.
Right.
So my problems I had two sets of problems. I had mine that were mine, and I had mine that were mine with my mom. So then that full rejection of from your mom, of like, you're dead, I don't want to see you again ever, that creates another host of problems.
Oh, dear.
So there was a lot of I had a lot of problems.
Yeah. And I'm
That's a
probably
lot.
sure you've done a lot of work and a lot
I've done
of
a lot of work.
books
I'm still
and
in
stuff.
therapy.
There's some books I'll have to look up. They maybe recommend if you haven't read on.
I would love to
yeah,
any
I
book.
think it's Daughters of Mothers with
Motherless
Borderline
Daughters?
Personality.
No? Oh, no, I don't know that one.
Yeah, I think that's a new one.
The one that most applied to her that I've read is called Trapped in the Mirror.
Interesting.
Have you read that book?
No, I haven't.
Trapped in the Mirror is about narcissism
Okay.
as a disorder, sort of. And definitely that's her modus operandi. I read that book
Interesting.
like you did with anxiety and went, who was sneaking in the corner and writing books about my life?
Right.
Who did that? This is insane. I could basically check off every single thing in this book and go, yep. I didn't know that anybody else on the planet existed like my mom. I had no idea. I thought it was
right.
specific to her.
Yep.
And then I read this book and was like, holy shit.
And she's never been diagnosed and gotten help?
Oh, narcissists think they're perfect.
Well, that's true. I mean, I
No,
also
there's
have a
nothing wrong,
narcissistic
no.
mother diagnosed by my sister
Oh, wow.
a number of years ago. And
Wait,
she
your
was,
mother? Oh, girlfriend, we need a whole nother podcast.
whole other
Another
podcast.
podcast.
And a recent, and my youngest sister, who will be a psychologist. She's an artist right now and designer, and she will be a psychologist. It's
Yeah.
just when you grow up with that,
Yeah.
you have to make sense of it.
Yes, you do.
And then my father is also mentally ill. So, the two of them together are quite a pair. And
Are they still married?
oh yeah, it's just the two of them living in absolute insanity.
Wow.
Just
Dear.
yeah. And then my sister just said, no,
Yeah.
I'm done. Like me, after going through all these years of therapy and, and she was like, and I was like, maybe I can be done too, and that's but that's a very difficult.
Yes, it is.
That is a difficult tie to cut.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
I haven't seen my mom. The last time it was very cyclical with her stuff. So when I was 13, I was dead to her. So I didn't see her for 2 years. She was like, I was 13 because at 13 I could choose who I wanted to live with it, and I chose my dad. And so she was like, then you're dead to me.
Then you're dead to me.
So then that healed sort of. And then at 23, I was dead again. You're dead to me.
Yeah.
We had an argument because she asked me to lie about something and I wouldn't lie to her. And then it just exploded, and then I was dead again. I was dead that time for about 7 years maybe, till I was about 30.
And you were on your own at that point?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then when I got pregnant with Georgia, we were in an argument that made no sense to me at all. And I kept trying to reach out to her to tell her that, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm about to get married. And she wouldn't meet me halfway. And so I sent her this email saying, I just want you to know this because I've sent you, I've texted you. I mean, I've left you voice messages. I've tried everything and you're not calling me back. So I need to tell you this really important thing. Here it is.
Yeah.
And you won't give me an avenue to tell you any other way. And at that point, she was like, you're dead to me, dead. And then
She would say that. She'd say, you're
oh,
dead to
yeah, I
me?
have it in writing.
All right.
Like she emailed me this, and I printed it out so I would never forget her damage that she'd done. Because I'd been experiencing that since I was very small.
Right.
But you forget. You
You
forgive.
forget.
You permiss. You do these things where you
she's your
go, it wasn't
mother.
as bad as I remember.
Or you blame yourself.
I blame myself most of the time.
Yeah, I must have been a bad kid.
I fully believed I was a horrible human.
I must have done something to provoke that. And
Totally.
Then you have, that's the imago part of it. You have children
yeah.
and they get to that age.
Yeah.
And you say,
Nope.
wait, they had me arrested when I was 4. I have a 4-year-old.
Right.
I would never have my 4-year-old arrested.
Right.
This is crazy town.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to me a lot. When I had my kids, my mother used to say to me, you just wait till you have kids and you will see what you've been putting me through.
And you have kids and you
I
go,
put, yeah, this is kind of
wonderful.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. What's wrong with this?
This kind of rocks. Okay. Well, fuck you, lady. Screw you for saying that to me my whole life and making me feel like a piece of crap.
Blaming you.
all you have to do is love them?
Oh, that's it.
Right.
And then guess
That's
what?
it.
If you do that, they love you back.
Yeah.
And if you don't, they lock themselves in their closet and refuse to come out because you are evil. That's what they do. They reject you because they're smart.
Yeah.
They understand things. But I printed that email out so I would never forget.
Right.
And then
Smart.
that's when I went, oh, no, now actually I'm done. So you can keep saying you're done and keep coming back, but actually it's over. You
Yeah.
will not do this to my children
Yeah.
under any circumstances. And if Bert Kreischer had to deal with that, he would be a mess. And so I just went, no, actually, I'm saying
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's the last time I've seen her twice.
And you were pregnant with your first?
Yes. She's seen my children twice. Once at her dad's funeral. And once I was visiting her mother, who's still alive, and she wackadoo. Had never met my kids, hadn't seen me in years, didn't come to my wedding, nothing. She walks in my grandmother's house and goes, hey guys, Nani's here. And I was like, what? Who let the Looney Tune in? Somebody open the asylum door? Lose the key? What the hell? And Bert said what was really interesting is that I fully shut down. I fully went completely inside. No voice, no personality. You will not see any of my person at all. I am invisible, which is what it is as a child. My whole childhood. It sent me right back to childhood.
Yeah.
When we got in the truck to leave, Bert was like, I've never seen you like that ever. And I went, yeah, that's what trauma does to you.
Yeah.
Is all of a sudden you're right back
Re-traumatized.
where you are. And I was like that. And at the end of this long visit, she just wouldn't leave. She goes, so maybe I'll come out in California and see you. And Bert went, nope, you will not be coming to California to
Good.
see us.
Good for him.
Lady,
Good for
we'll
him.
never see you again.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And
You
she
do
was
this
like,
to my wife,
what?
then no.
And then she wrote this really nasty letter to me. And I refused to read it. I gave it to Bert. And Bert went in the backyard and read it. And he came back in the house and he literally said, fuck that bitch. She's not welcome in this house ever.
Yeah.
And I went, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been saying for years,
Yeah.
you don't understand
Yeah.
how crazy she is. This is a different level of
That's
crazy.
validation.
Yeah.
That's validation.
It was so
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody my whole life had ever done that.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes, well, she can't be that bad. You know?
Right.
It can't be that bad.
Right.
God, just from the little bits you've told me. I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
pretty bad.
Well, that's not
really
even the
bad.
worst. Some of it I
really
want to
bad.
say because if she heard it, she'd probably sue me. But I did have a very big drinking problem for when I was younger until I got into therapy. And then I went, because I knew my drinking was not about alcohol. I knew it was about pain.
Yeah.
And about not understanding how I was supposed to be in the world.
And numbing.
And numbing. And it was medicating. And it was really, I remember, I've said this before, but I remember after I was dead at 23, I remember consciously trying to separate myself, like giving away everything she'd ever given me, wanting that cut. And after that cut happening, I remember being in D'Agostino grocery store in New York City crying because I didn't want to buy the butter that she made me buy my whole life. But then I didn't know what butter to buy. And I don't know what was about that butter, that was the only butter I could have because she was macrobiotic. But then now what do I buy? Crying and
right.
over butter. It's like, I don't know what butter to buy because what narcissists do, is you have to live within their context and understanding of life. And if you go out of that, then it's life threatening for them.
Yeah.
Basically. Or that's my understanding of it.
Absolutely.
And so they can't tolerate anything other than their perspective or point of view. So if
The created reality of what they
it
created.
is very creative reality.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it. But anyway, I didn't mean to get into my story. We should all come back and talk about your high school experiences where things.
Oh, no, we don't need to go there.
You don't need to go there.
No, I'm way
You need to
down.
go to yours.
That's
I
in
would
the
love to go to
past.
yours sometime. Can't believe you were suicidal in middle school.
In middle school, yeah.
Middle school.
Yeah.
Was it about something
Pretty
specific,
serious.
or was it depression, or?
Oh, it was a very, very, just an incredibly abusive home life.
Yeah.
So my bedroom was in the basement. So there were 3 girls, there were 3 of us, and we are all very close. And some of it I've forgotten, so I would call my sisters and be like, did this happen? They'd say, it was worse. And so, so I got moved to the basement, and for years, I just thought it was because I was a bad kid. I'm sure I was anxious.
Right.
I'm an anxious adult. I was probably an anxious child. Anxiety runs through the family. That's why my daughter has it,
Right.
And I was probably a pain in the ass, but I was like a super high achiever, and then they would turn it up. They would say, why is that an A minus? You
Oh,
bring
Lord
that
have
up, you bring that up
mercy.
to an A, or you'll be grounded in your room for 2 weeks.
Oh, my
What?
You bring that up to, and food was very controlled, so we would be hungry. We were teenagers. We'd be hungry after school, and we'd eat sugar out of the sugar bowl or, whatever. We were not poor, we were completely middle class. And so anything that we did outside of that would be room for being grounded. It wasn't like big things. And so my room was in the basement, and there was literally a lock on the door. So I will get triggered by, kids being found in Riverside and,
Yeah.
it was very, and my sister will say she remembers bringing the chair over and unlocking the door. And I just had, so I think when I couldn't handle anything, and I had no idea I would like break glass and cut myself. I didn't know that was a thing until years later. I was like, what's cutting? I'm like, it's when kids cut them. And I was like, I did that.
Oh God.
It's like, so it's instinctual. Nobody taught me to do that.
Right,
Nobody.
you didn't see it on Instagram.
It's something
no.
primal.
It's
Right,
something
very
primal. And I just remember, and I tried to slit my wrist, and I just remember I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted, I didn't want to die. I just wanted it to stop.
Interesting.
I wanted somebody to help me.
Yeah.
You're reaching out for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the counselors called home and said, and they didn't do anything. And my parents probably lied, and they said they were going to get me in counseling. I remember my dad was upset. He was crying. And my mom said, you're a sinner.
Oh my God.
Because, Catholics don't, if you take your own life, that's a sin. And they never got me into therapy. And I lied, and I said it was about grades. I was worried about my grades because I couldn't, my dad was upset. And, and I continued to have, I didn't actually get into therapy until I think I was 19, and I'd gone to school. I had an eating disorder from like 16 on, and I was down to about 90 pounds. And I checked myself into I found in the back of the Village Voice, they were like, oh, bulimic anorexic, check yourself into this study at Columbia. And, basically lied my way through that, and then was threatened. We're either going to hospitalize you or you have to start seeing a therapist. And this is the one you're going to go to. And so I went to go see this woman, and I was like, whatever, I'll just get her to sign off on my thing, and then I'm going to be on my way. And she was like, you need to come see me 3 times a week.
Wow.
She charged me $15 a week.
No way.
In the middle of Manhattan. I didn't have any money. I was like waitressing.
So at least she knew it was serious. She just wanted to see you 3 times a week. Thank God. Yeah.
And she saved my life.
That's amazing.
So it's like, I feel like everything I do now is payback.
Right.
I'm paying somebody back who's who's literally saved my life.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's an amazing
And you
story.
don't even know that I'm sure you're the same. You don't even know that you're a mess. You're just like, ugh.
No, I knew I was a mess. There was a certain point where I knew I was a mess.
I knew I was a mess, but I just didn't want to change it at all. I was like,
it's too overwhelming. I think especially when it sounds like your mom may have been very narcissistic too.
oh, extremely. Yeah.
But I had food restrictions too. My mother monitored my bowel movements. Like where if I didn't have a bowel movement, she'd put newspaper on the ground and make me squat and watch me have a bowel movement.
No.
Swear to God.
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
Oh my God.
It was a party in my house.
Oh, you poor thing.
It was crazy. She was hardcore into transcendental meditation, and so she would make me meditate. I took 21 vitamins a day, every day, because she believed that I needed that. And I had to drink like niacin. I don't know if you've ever drank niacin, but it makes you like flush. It makes your whole body go hot.
dangerous
As a little
too for
child.
children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's
So
Looney
where was
Tune.
social? Both of these cases, I want to hear where was social services and why were they?
Where
stepping in?
was
When they
social
saw
services?
a lock on your door in the basement.
They
Right.
never saw that, but my dad took me back to the so I stole a candy bar from a grocery store when I was 4 because I didn't understand. I wanted a candy bar. My mom said no, and I just took it.
Right.
And I was eating in the back
And
of
you're
the car.
4.
And
Yeah,
I'm
you're
4.
4.
And so when my dad came home, she said, you need to take her to the police station. And so somehow they took me back to the grocery store, and a police car was waiting.
This
And-
was your dad's initiation, saying you need to take her to the police station.
This was my mom and dad together. So I'm not sure who
Okay.
initiated. My father was the one
But
who
your
took
parents
me.
were saying this 4-year-old needs to go to the police station.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're
So-
4.
And I
you're
was 4.
4.
That's
And so I remember the look on the police officer's face when my dad said, put her in the back of the car. What? And I was screaming. I mean,
because you're 4.
yeah, screaming. And he said, sir, I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. And I was, I am like, I'm like sick to my stomach right now, even like thinking about it. But I remember the look on his face, but it was the 70s.
No, that's no excuse.
Now, I mean, DCSF would have had a huge
I see
case
what you mean.
open.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that would have perked the officers' ears and instinctions, and then let's just have social services do a wellness check.
right.
That's what they do now. They can do a
Right.
wellness check.
But there really wasn't, or the the counselor who called home would have followed up and did you get this child counseling, and did you
Right. No checks and balances in place at the time, probably. Nothing.
No,
right.
and I just think people weren't trained.
Right.
They just
Right.
spare the rod, spoil the child. I mean, everybody knew. I remember kids talking. I remember getting grounded because kids in front of my parents were talking about how awful my parents were.
Oh.
And I got grounded.
And then you got grounded because you were the person that ratted them out. So it was all your fault. Boy, I think your mother and my mother are related.
They are
I think they are soul sisters.
And
Yeah.
well, one thing I do have to say for the whole healing process, and this was, I was kind of dead to them when I went away to school. And then it was, they've been kind of a little bit in my life, not very much. But I gave the speech when I graduated. And so I finally kind of outed some of these experiences that I had had because I felt like I had not grown past it, but I had grown to a place where I could admit to it. It was so shameful. There was so much shame. And so, I did. And my aunt was crushed. She didn't know. And she didn't know a lot of the things. And I start out my speech by saying, the way I got into starting this was I said, I have to do something about this scar. What do I do about this scar? And so that's how I start my speech. And so I talk about, how then when you help somebody, with a similar problem, you become, it becomes purposeful. It becomes meaningful. All of a sudden, all this suffering there's a light, and talking about Rumi and, so my aunt recorded it and she was crying and she sent it to my parents and they were
Done.
It was done.
Oh, girlfriend.
It was
I'm sorry.
Because I had finally,
You doubted him.
at 48 years old, admitted that this had happened.
Right.
Publicly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not, I just said, I had a difficult childhood. I didn't go into,
The details.
no.
Yeah.
Because what a freak.
Yeah, right? Yeah, true. Yeah.
What a freak. Like my sisters and I talk about it. Like, when you have parties, you're like, oh, my parents are awful. Oh, they're so awful. They had me arrested when I was 4 and people were like, what?
Right? Excuse me, what?
Babysitter.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. But I think I've said this before on my podcast. The pain like carves a groove that you can fill with happiness.
Yes.
You can. You can't. It doesn't just fill itself.
Yeah.
You have to work at it.
You have to work.
But I feel like I appreciate my kids and my marriage and my friendships and women so much more than some people do because of my background. That it's a gift. In all that was a big gift to me if I chose to walk the path to pick the gift up. It was not an easy path to walk. It was really, really hard and very lonely sometimes and confusing and scary, just like what you were talking about when you started your new path with your career. Is sometimes it's, but you have, what choice do you have? You have to do that.
Yeah.
I think we just stay stuck.
See, you
bored.
Getting a degree for you and or if you ever wanted to change careers, it's like nothing. Once you've been through that,
Yeah.
this is just some studying.
Yeah, I guess
Taking
so.
some
The
tests.
2 years goes pretty fast.
It goes
for
really
me.
fast,
I
yeah.
mean, and when you're in it, it's a little long. But then when you're done, you're like, oh my God, that was only 2 years, and
It's fast. And they say that and you're like,
bad.
"What?"
Wasn't
And then
that
it's
bad.
done.
Right. So yeah, you could do it.
Any advice for anybody listening that's considering a new career? I mean, you've kind of already given it, but anything else?
I think ask around, talk to people, interview people like what you did. I think is really, really helpful. Interview people in the profession that you're looking at. Ask the hard questions. Ask what you like, what you don't like about it. Money,
you can
how much
visit
you
them.
can make. Yeah, that would be ideal.
Can you visit them at what does their work
that's a
life
good
look
idea.
like? So you can like put yourself in that. Could I do this?
Yeah.
Right. Do I see myself in this position?
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Like the
Shadow
first
them.
thing we have to do is take the CBEST. And I was like, and I was going to go towards the education. And so when I finished the CBEST, my girlfriend said, oh, you can student teach or you can be a substitute. And I thought, that sounds horrible.
Right?
I am not going to go into education. Like I
Right.
immediately put myself there and it was like, no, this is not what I want to do at all. And I
Right.
almost got a degree in that. What the heck?
Right? Hard pass. Your spreadsheet sounded like a really good thing to do. To go, okay,
Yes.
this is what it's going to
Love
cost,
that.
and this is what these are the
Yes.
benefits long term.
And this is
then
what
you're
you're looking at. Yeah.
Insurance, health benefits, and retirement benefits. You might get retirement benefits. I mean, well, you
Oh,
will.
we've got great. Yes. Very, very happy with that.
Yeah.
Something I didn't have, the pay gets better and better, but also just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 45. How can I do? I was like, yeah, but next year I'll be 46
Yeah.
and I'll be 47.
I was 49 when I started, and I'm meeting with a woman, a colleague, who's lovely, who was also in the design world. Oh my God.
How crazy.
Right. And she really high up, like executive in Chicago. She's amazing. Georgie. Hello, Georgie. And she's now in her 60s and still interning, getting her intern hours.
Amazing.
Good for her.
Yeah. So, I mean,
That's so
look
cool.
at that. Yeah. And she moved
Yeah.
out here to California. She has 2 grown children out here. So she's near them and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, she's my inspiration. She can do it. I can keep going. I can do this.
That's
You know,
awesome.
and I'm meeting her for coffee tomorrow about a possible job opportunity.
That's awesome.
So how much longer do you have of your intern hours?
800, which actually seems like a lot, you know.
But you
I'm in
had
the doldrums.
3,000
Thank you so
though,
much
right?
for your words of encouragement.
You're
Oh my
almost
God, I
there.
love that. Yeah.
You're almost
That's
there.
kind of like in the doldrums right now. Going like, okay, a little more.
Yeah, you're super
And
close.
then my new therapist that I'm seeing, who I love, she's like, oh, I got so many job offers I can give you, you know, once you get licensed and stuff, that
Right.
you can start making better pay and stuff. Because as an intern, there's just not a lot of opportunities for well-paying jobs.
Right.
You know, there's opportunities, but a lot of them are pretty low paying. So
Well,
hanging in there.
I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
thank
I'm very proud of you. I mean, I don't know you very well, Ellen, but I'm very proud of you. This is both of you. Vita, so
Yeah.
proud of you for making that
Aw.
decision. So brave. So many people aren't that brave, you know. It's, my podcast is so far no income, but a lot of fulfillment. And it was really brave because I was
is
like, I
really
don't know what I'm
brave.
doing. I've never done this
I
before.
love
I have
it.
no idea.
Absolutely.
It's cool. It makes you feel, it does so much for your self-esteem to do a brave act,
Yeah.
to make a brave
Absolutely,
choice.
Absolutely.
So if anybody listening is trying to decide if they want to, you don't even have to be in your 40s. You can be 3 years into teaching school and go, you know what? I had this great friend that was a news producer for CNN. And she was doing great, like really climbing up the ranks and became producer of like evening news or something. I probably screwed that up, but of some big news thing for CNN. And she wasn't happy. And she said to herself, I want to teach second grade. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
So she went back and got her teaching certificate and is still teaching second grade and is so happy. And she's like, I did what I thought I wanted to do until I was doing it. And then I thought, I don't really want to do this. I want to teach second grade. Now I'm so happy. No regrets. It's hard to make that bold decision. And some people don't have the means to make that decision. But I think where there's a will, there's a way. You know, I worked through college and I had student loans and I had a Pell Grant and, you know, my dad bought my books and I just piecemealed it together. And if you really want to, you can do it. It may not happen in 4 years, may take you 5.
Right.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you have a priority and you want to get it done and then you commit to it, you know, it can be done.
It can be done.
can be
Anything can be done.
Yeah.
Even healing from a bad childhood.
Even well, and sometimes that will help you heal from that.
Definitely gives you some grit.
Yeah, it gives you some
Gives you
grit
some grit.
and gives you some
Build some
perspective.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me about this. Thank you very much for giving me some of your Saturday. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.